Hello there, and hello there. We are on. Yes, I know.
Hello.
Very little warning.
Very little warning.
But it happened. Your glasses are dirty.
Yeah, they are. You know what? I just can't.
You're leaving.
I'm going to go clean them.
He's got to clean
them. Yep, got to go.
Do you have an excuse
You don't have to
leave?
follow me. Yes, I do.
I hope you don't.
An excused absence.
Don't you go.
So I'm not going to leave you. Hey, we were talking about coronavirus again. Yes, it is the biggest story out there. Kind of a local headline. One of the only school that's closed in Oregon because of it is in Lake Oswego. It's called Forest Hills Elementary School. It's been closed since last Friday, really, to all activities, Friday night.
Right.
When the initial person in Oregon tested positive for the coronavirus. They live in Washington County. They are an employee at Forest Hills Elementary. We don't know what type of employee, but they scrubbed the place down.
Yeah.
Today they are reopening to students, and about 6:15 this morning the principal spoke with us. Our
superintendent.
Yes. I'm sorry. Yes.
Okay.
Let's check in with our reporter Morgan Romero out there this morning. Good morning, Morgan. What's going on out there? What can you tell us?
Hey, good morning, guys. Yep, school is set to start at 8:10. I'm told students and parents will start rolling in, either driving or walking their kids here around 7:45, 7:50. But so far, we have seen teachers and staff members walk through these doors. We watched as the flag was raised, probably the first time in a few days since the school's been closed since Friday. We've seen people creating flowers. We've people, not necessarily hugging one another, but greeting each other with excitement. The school was closed over the past few days so that industrial cleaning crews from ServPro could come in and deep clean the building. You mentioned state of Oregon. Weeks since that individual was February 19th, because any staff members or students were exposed to that sick employee with confirmed coronavirus. We heard from the superintendent at 6:15 this morning. She says they do have contingency plans in place should they need to go to online learning, but they hope that's not the case. Take a listen.
At this time, we have not seen any new cases of COVID-19 in our community. We don't know if we've seen the last of COVID-19. But I will say that we're committed to staying on top of any new developments on behalf of our community. I believe we've become stronger because of this experience, and I'm confident that our community will work together for the best outcome for students, staff, and families.
Again, that was Superintendent Dr. Laura De La Cruz, and she said in the beginning of her press conference, today she hopes is a day filled with compassion and care for one another here in the community at Forest Hills Elementary School across Lake Oswego. She hopes that everyone will keep that staff member who has coronavirus, who's in the hospital, in their minds and in their hearts, and they hope for a swift recovery, that that person will be able to come back to this school, rejoin the community, and heal. They're being treated at Kaiser Permanente West Side. At last check, we checked on that on Friday, so we will again check on that today, see how they're doing. Again, parents and students and staff will roll in 7:50, 7:45 this morning. We'll try to talk to them. We'll bring you all the latest on air and online on KGW and on our mobile app. And you can stay up to date on all the latest on our kgw.com/coronavirus page.
All right, thank you so much, Morgan. So 7:45 this morning, we'll start to see the kids. I wonder how many are going to show up. If parents, want to just keep them home for a few days
That's
longer.
interesting. You still have kids in school. If that was your particular school, do you think you guys would send them back if they say it's all deep clean?
It's probably the cleanest it's ever been.
Right.
To answer your question, yes, I would say my kids would be back in school today. Our boys did tell us that there has been quite a few absences. I was telling you this the other day at their middle school, like more than usual this week so far. And apparently one of their teachers, at least according to one of my sons, told them that it's because parents have said they're nervous about sending their kids to school.
Not because the kids are sick, but maybe they're just...
Again, this is one of my sons telling me that one of their teachers told him that kids are not in school today. Some kids are not in school today because their parents are concerned about the potential for getting sick while they're at school. And now our director, Brian Matthews, who has kids around the same age I do, his kids were telling him they heard the same thing. So I would definitely send my kids. One of my sons, I've told you this before, I'm very proud of it, that's why I keep bringing it up, has not missed a day of school since the start of 2nd grade. Yeah. He's in his 5th straight year of not missing a day of school. So I think he'd be like, Dad, if it's open, I'm going. That's his
proud
thing.
Of this record.
Yes, that's his thing, is to show up. But
the school's burning and Drew's like, stay in there, son, stay in there.
Once you show up, you can leave and still get marked as present. So I encourage him to leave if it ever catches on fire. But they did also talk about, which I hadn't really heard a lot about until this morning, all of the school buses in the Lake Oswego School District and other schools within the district also went through a deep cleaning over the past weekend. So, like you said, if that place has ever been clean, it would be today.
Yeah, it's the most clean it's ever been. So, yeah, we're going to be keeping tabs on that. We thought it was kind of interesting. I saw this headline yesterday. It was all over Twitter. So the new James Bond movie, No Time to Die with Daniel Craig. I love these titles. Anyway, say that with
There's a trailer
sarcasm.
for the movie right now.
Yeah, so it's the first Bond movie that whatever studio this is has put out in 5 years. But they just announced yesterday this was supposed to come out in theaters in April, and now they're pushing back the release until November because they have mass theater closures in China and Italy and Korea, and those are big, movie markets for these movie studios, and they want the biggest audience they can possibly get, and so they're pushing it back to November. Now we're seeing, some sporting events, like the players are out there playing soccer, and there's nobody in the stadium.
That's right. Is that in Italy? I did read that. I just kind of glanced over some of those headlines.
Oh, yeah.
But March Madness here, all that stuff with the basketball.
That's still planning to go on.
Yeah.
TBD on that. But are you guys, I mean, it looked like the Blazer game was totally
Yeah, that's a good question. I didn't see
last
the attendance,
night.
but we could quickly take a look for that.
Like the Timbers play this weekend. Are you guys kind of staying away from movie theaters or sporting games, or are you just going until, you really feel like it's not? So 56% of you still going to places.
So Susie Lee on our Facebook stream, good morning, says we can overcome COVID-19 if we study and act on how to stop the spread of it as much as we can. Group-centric events like religious meetings, parties, sports, games, concerts, meetings should not be held for a while, in her opinion. Or if an event must be held, avoid attending them yourself. So I don't see that she specifically says that she is not going to that stuff, but it sounds like that is her opinion. It's like she's going to stay away for a while.
Last night at Moda Center, guess the percentage of filled seats. According to the official attendance, the percentage of filled seats last night at the Moda Center.
Almost all
80%.
Almost all?
Yeah.
You said 80?
Yeah.
She's closer.
I'm going to say 90-something.
100. 100%.
Total sellout.
100%
They
the
always
capacity.
say that.
Well, listen, capacity is
Sold out crowd.
Capacity is 19,441 for Blazers games. Apparently, the attendance marked last night was 19,393. That's pretty darn close to the actual number, so they consider that 100%.
But I mean, that one, getting back to the comment, and very respectful of that, with the person saying I wouldn't go to some of these events that should be canceled, but I mean, just to be blunt, it's another thing if you've got to a Blazer game, that may be $500 that you spent on 2 tickets to go, depending on where you're, sitting. Boy, you got to be very, I don't know what I want to say, but to say, yeah, I'm just going to throw that $500 in the trash can and not go. You have to be very concerned to watch those $500 tickets wither away on your
even $50
kitchen counter.
tickets. I mean, I'm like, man, $50.
That's a lot of money.
If you are of the mindset that it's dangerous, if that's what you believe, that it's dangerous, potentially dangerous for you to be in a setting like that, then $50 means nothing. You know what I mean? I'm not of that mindset, nor are you. I know. I don't think any of us are that concerned.
I mean, we
wouldn't show up at a Blazers game. So yes, we're not going to blow that $50 or $500.
My daughter, let's see, is it later this month, got 2 tickets to go to a concert at Crystal Ballroom, and she wants me to go with her. And we bought this long before I had ever heard of coronavirus. And I'm like, oh, do I want to be squeezed into the Crystal Ballroom with all these? Yes. So I don't know.
Singing,
I mean, at this point, we're going.
Droplets coming out.
I don't like that.
I'm more concerned about her than me.
Yeah.
Because she has more like upper respiratory issues.
Yeah.
You know, she had asthma as a little girl and that type of thing.
It's interesting to see all the rippling impact of this. And to me, I'm sure there have been other events, but I can't think of one off the top of my head where it's been such a reminder of how so much of our life is in fact tied to the global economy.
Yes.
You know, when things start hurting one part of the world, it does ripple, impacting some of our American carriers, airline-wise, et cetera, et cetera. You know,
Yeah, Delta just said that instead of daily flights to Japan,
Tokyo,
to
Portland
Tokyo, they're going to do it 3 times a week. Yeah.
Well, we were talking with a Portland State economist, the dean of the economics program at Portland State yesterday, and you can find that on our Facebook page. And he was really saying, you know, like he tells his students, this is a perfect example of teaching global economics. You know, I mean, you have companies like FLIR who make those, you know, cameras and thermal imaging and all that stuff, all of those little teeny parts and gears. A lot of that stuff is made in China or Malaysia. Apple iPhones, as much as we would love them to be made in the US, they're assembled here, but all that stuff comes from overseas, and those factories are closed because people are quarantined, and so that's not coming over. And then you know, you have American or Oregon companies weighing like, well, how long does this go on before we may have to lay people off?
Yeah.
And then those people aren't having a paycheck to spend in the economy, and it's.
And let's face it, for a lot of people, if you don't get paid for a week or two,
That's big trouble.
that is a huge impact in your life, a huge impact.
Absolutely.
What you got?
I have the voice of a viewer. Her name is Olivia. Good morning, Olivia. If you're watching us right now on one of our stream channels, she did chime in earlier this morning, just before 7 o'clock, through our text line. And you can do the same, because not only do we want to hear your response to this poll question about are you still going to movies and concerts and sports events, but we want to know why you are or are not. So Olivia told us she has 2 trips planned this summer. The first one is coming up this month, March 13th, to Las Vegas. She said she and her husband bought these tickets to see Rod Stewart at Caesar's Palace.
Oh, wow.
Yes, and she says she is going to continue to go unless the concert itself is canceled. They're going to go to Vegas. They're going to go through with this trip. But she is curious to see how Las Vegas is handling the coronavirus, because
big crowds.
Well, how about all the people touching the slot machines and all the games down there in Vegas? She says that she's going to wear masks, or she and her husband will wear masks on the plane, and she's going to wear fashionable gloves while she's in Las Vegas.
Fashionable gloves, I like that.
Because she loves to play the slots. She's just not comfortable touching the slots right now.
That's interesting.
In Vegas, that can be a pretty international crowd too,
100%.
right? People from all over the world.
Yeah, Julie Wyatt on our Facebook stream says, we have been going out like normal, but then found out about the employee at Wild Horse Casino, and now we are self-quarantining at home just to be sure we won't spread it. On the off chance we might have caught it there last weekend, we are likely to avoid large gatherings going forward. If we all stay home all the time, though, few businesses will survive. Tough call on how to proceed.
There is a balance there, isn't there?
That came up in our house because we're having dinner with 2 other couples on Friday, and this was planned months ago. I mean, we don't typically go out. We have kids, and I'm tired all the time, so we don't typically go out to dinner like on a Friday night.
Amen, brother.
I get that.
But you know, me and my wife was saying, "Hey, what do you want to do Friday?" So I want to go, but obviously asked the 2 other couples, and it was a discussion, and I said that very thing. I said, "Hey, if all these small businesses start losing all this business, then we're really in trouble. So let's support this little restaurant and show up there to eat on Friday night."
I want to know what's for dinner. See, I'm a horrible person. I'm like, well, what would I be missing? What's the dinner option here?
I can tell you where we're going. Willow. Have you ever been to Willow?
I've heard of this though, Willow.
Right, and it's supposed to be nice. I did a segment on Willow years ago during the Out and About edition of Sunrise.
That's where I heard of it.
Maybe, but I've never been there to actually eat, and so we're looking forward to dinner at Willow. Support local business.
Yeah, and Jenna Newman says people are still going out. I cut hair in Lake Oswego, and everyone is still coming in, even when they're sick. It doesn't matter if you're at a big event or just getting a haircut. People are sick, and they are out and about. You can't avoid germs. Not saying everybody is sick with coronavirus, just in general.
Sure. Yeah. I got my hair cut yesterday, and I was curious about that, and I asked my Terry, who cuts my hair, if she'd had anybody cancel for what seemingly would be precautionary, and she said no, but I was curious to ask. Yeah.
And Pamela, hey, good morning, girl. She says, in her opinion, hand sanitizer is killing off all our natural bacteria. Then what?
Yeah, I was just Googling Las Vegas to see if there was any news stories about casinos, really doing super deep cleaning, but it's more kind of on the conventions. A lot of conventions being canceled in Las Vegas
Well, that's
as
a
people
huge
aren't.
hit.
That's a huge market for them.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Interesting.
You know, a lot of travelers from China, obviously not coming, tourists.
Yeah.
But I can't.
You know, the other thing when you were talking about Chinese tourists that I just want to mention, because I'm blanking on her name. She was the lead health officer for our region. We just interviewed her.
Jennifer Vines.
Yes, thank you, Jennifer Vines. I caught her after the Sunrise Show because we had a pretty lengthy discussion, and she was here on the stream, and I said, is there anything that we didn't ask you that we should really be talking about? And one of the things that came up was kind of the racism that some people are displaying toward Asian people. We had an instance in a school where kids were being harassed, bothered for no reason. They weren't sick, they were American, but people were worried. And I just got my nails done yesterday and love the Vietnamese couple who work there. And the woman told me that she was in Costco, and she said, I was, just getting produce, doing my regular shopping, and there was a woman next to her who, in her opinion, made a huge beeline away from her. And she was like, I'm not sick. She goes, I'm Vietnamese, I'm not Chinese, but she just was talking about how she feels when people see her and move away. And she is from Vietnam. She's got an accent, so
But she wasn't there
so
yesterday,
much.
probably.
No, but I said, there's so much ignorance and fear, which is one of the reasons that we want to talk about this. So it's like people aren't freaked out. You're just getting the facts. But that is that's a problem, And the health authorities are also saying, hey, mention that because it is a thing.
That's crazy because I heard Dr. Vines telling you about that story on whatever day that was, probably Tuesday of this week. And then you had that very story told to you 2 days later.
Yeah, because it's happening all over, I guess.
No, my family, my wife is Korean. Her parents are Korean. And they told a similar story at the grocery store. There are people behind them whispering, honey, no. Not behind, not in the line with those people. I think that's where they chose was those people, and they moved to another line.
Jeez.
That is bad.
Anyway.
We need to be conscious of that.
Because now it doesn't matter. Lots of people who are getting sick have no relation or contact at all with any Asian country or travel or have known contact with somebody who had the virus. We don't know.
Is that one of those things that shouldn't surprise us? Because it definitely does to hear that. I mean, I'd never thought of that one time about being concerned. I mean, I have thought about I'm at the grocery store, I'm touching a lot of things that a lot of other people are touching. I'm thinking about that.
Right.
But to think about, did an Asian person touch this box? That I never would have thought of that.
Right. I mean, everybody has implicit bias. We just do.
Right.
But we need to be mindful of that. And it's interesting to hear those stories because it does bring it to the forefront.
And I don't think that's the people's intent that are involved in this story. And I want to make that clear. I'm sure it's not their intent to be prejudiced or racist. I think that was just, for whatever reason, that's what popped into their head, making the connection between this started in China and et cetera, et cetera. But,
it's ignorance.
Go ahead.
Well, I was going to ask Brenda because I felt like there was one other thing the doctor mentioned that day when you asked her about things that we should talk about that we didn't really have a chance to. And there was that story that she shared, and I thought there was one other. It's okay if you can't.
Oh, yeah. She did tell me that. Thank you for jogging my memory. She said that as the virus spreads in the community and we see more cases, please be aware that when the health department is giving numbers, that there are people behind those numbers. And she said we walk a really fine line in the healthcare sector because we can't give too much information. They are giving numbers, but there's patient privacy that they have to worry about.
Right.
And we all deserve privacy with our health situation. But she said, they have a hard time because of that.
Yep.
The numbers are one thing, but there are real people, our neighbors, our friends, our family, who could be impacted.
Protecting citizens, but also protecting one person's privacy. Still important.
The stigma that they could feel after that. Hey, our friend Stanford Walker, you are watching us on YouTube this morning, friend. You're bouncing all around between the apps. I like it. He says, I am staying away from crowds. No more Shamrock Run or concerts, not even TriMet buses for him. So thanks for weighing in, Stanford.
Yes, Shamrock Run is 2 Sundays from now. Since you brought up Stanford, another favorite of ours on the stream, Bubba. Bubba checking in by way of text because that's what Bubba does. Bubba says, I've been collecting wet naps from KFC and he's taking those with him to Las Vegas when he goes for March Madness.
Are wet naps anti-bacterial?
Yeah, those are great. I always save those.
Sometimes I think Bubba likes
Those
to
are on moist towelette.
That's right.
For your chicken fingers.
But I always grab those. If I don't use them at the restaurant, I'm thinking, well, I may use this later, and I'll put it in my pocket and save it for another day. Yes.
Moist towelette.
We could save that topic for another day. Things that you remove from a restaurant that probably could be considered.
Well, it's on your platter. They gave it to you. It's yours.
He's not stealing it. So Joshua Francis says nobody. Oops, sorry, didn't mean to interrupt.
Well,
sorry.
Go ahead, Brenda.
I was just gonna.
Sorry.
Hey, Joshua. Joshua Francis says nobody thinks you're brave or smarter for going out and about. Stay home unless you absolutely have to go out. Well, I guess that's
the Red Robin flavored salt in college.
Oh, we used to take those
Off
salt
the
and pepper
table.
shakers all the time.
It's like a flavored
for the apartment.
salt seasoning for your clucks and fries.
I
In
apologize.
college, it was, it's a flavoring.
We're still talking about
Are we
this because
talking
you know what?
about that?
Honestly, when Virat said that, you know what I did, Brenda? I went somewhere with my head and I couldn't get out of there. I remember the time my mom took a dish out of a diner because she said it matched the same set of dishes we have at home. My sweet mother.
How did she do that? She put it in her
Put
purse?
it in her purse. A small little dish that you would have under it was a saucer to go with a cup.
dang.
And my mom, who I've never seen
And
do
you saw her do
anything
this?
wrong in her life, never swore anything like that, took the dish and I'm like, the heck is she doing?
The statute of
I was probably like
limitations
8.
has probably run out.
Yeah.
So you're outing your mom.
46 minus 8.
Did she say, do as I say, not as I do?
I believe what she actually said, Nina, was the diner has a lot of these.
And I just need one.
And we're short one. How about that?
That's funny.
Boy.
Oh my gosh.
All right, you guys, thank you so much for weighing in and chatting with us this morning. Tomorrow's Friday. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye.
Today's my Friday.
Oh, that's classic, Drew.